Be blessed by the divine. So today's this topic right now we are going to talk about analysis of thoughts. So what are thoughts? So thoughts, we know that. So they are the basis for everything. Thoughts sculpt the human lives. We can say that thoughts are the source of everything, right? So every word and deed actually starts from thoughts. So now we need to understand, before we analyze the thoughts, we need to understand what are thoughts, right? So we need to be very clear what it is so that we can analyze and make required corrections so that it helps in better life. So before to understand thoughts, so we need to understand about genetic center and mind. So some of those as well before we go to thoughts, right? So thoughts actually come from their mind, genetic center and mind, are they are connected. So let's start with the genetic center. So what is genetic center? So in a human is not just a physical body. You have an astral body. So physical body is made up of atoms. Astral body is all about energy particles. The life force particles constitute the astral body. Then, because of the circulation or the self rotation of the life force particles, so a spreading wave that comes out of it, that spreading wave, when it merges with the static state, it produces magnetism, right? So in the human body, all these life force particles, they rotate and they self-rotate as well as they go around the body, right, at a very high speed. So and they create this waves. All these waves together is called biomagnetism, right? So within the body, this is called biomagnetism. Now, so we talked about three things. So physical body, in the center is the Muladhara area, right? And the bottom end of the spinal cord. So if you take the center for anything is, if you take any object or anything, like the middle, right? The center point is the center where uh, anything that's operating that keeps that as the center, and it operates, right? Similarly, even for the astral body in the life force particles, the center is the Muladhara, right? And even for in the biomagnetism, it flows all through the body, right? In the spreading wave, and its center is the Muladhara area. So that center, the center for all these things, physical body, life force, and biomagnetism, that is genetic center. Okay, vortex of the biomagnetic circulation. And this genetic center is very key, right? It actually stores all the information, right? It's like a condensed domain. Your both from your life force particles, your vital fluid, your biomagnetism. It's a condensed magnetic domain. So that the whole area is very condensed. So all this influence actually happens there. So we need to understand. So whatever actions we do, speaking, thoughts, everything is actually is stored in that biomagnetism because of that. It's a center, and anything that happens that gets imprinted there. Okay, so that we need to be very clear about it. Okay, so that's genetic center. Now, what is a mind, right? So we know mind, we are all there because of, we know that we are operating, so it is, we have mind, right? So let's understand in detail. So mind is actually a biomagnetic wave, right? So my body has biomagnetic wave. Mind is also a biomagnetic wave. So the biomagnetism, right, when it functions through the brain and sense organs, right? So let's start with the sense organ, right? Let's take the eyes. What does eye do? It's a sense organ. It actually the biomagnetic waves, right, inside body, it actually emits the light waves, right? The eyes actually like releases the light waves, right? The biomagnetism waves could be like because of the way it operates, right? If it operates inside just the light force particles, it is felt as pressure. And when the biomagnetism, right, when it is operating inside air, it produces sound. When it in the condensed air, it produces the light, or in the heat, it produces light. In the water, the biomagnetism, you feel it as it produces uh, taste, and in the hard things, right, in the solid things, it produces smell, right? So sense organs, right, each of those sense organs actually emit the corresponding waves, right? So eyes will emit the light waves. The nose will actually, it also releases the biomagnetic waves in the form of the small waves, right? So how does it actually recognize the eyes? How does it recognize? It releases a biomagnetic wave, which is a light wave. And when you look at something which is also emitting a light wave, right, which is higher intensity than the intensity of the biomagnetism that your eyes is actually releasing, that is what you feel as that is what you actually feel, and you are able to see the things. So let's say you are then the object that is you are going to see, if it emits the light that is lesser than the intensity of what your eyes is actually releasing, you can't really see that object. You can know that very clearly when you go to inside a theater, maybe in India it is even here, right? When the movie has started, uh, uh, when you are entering the theater, inside theater, right, you will realize that you will feel, you will see everything is dark. Though there is light, you feel everything is dark, because when you are outside the theater, the amount of light that your eyes were emitting is higher intensity than when you go inside the theater. The light there is very less, then you are not able to see anything. But after some time, the amount of light that you are actually releasing from your eyes is goes low. Then the what is the light level at the theater, then you are able to actually see things. So the difference is very key, right? So this difference, whatever it applies to not only eyes, it applies to everything else, right? It applies to smell, sound, and everything, right? So when the biomagnetism functions through sense organs and cognize the transformation of the biomagnetism into the panchatanmatras, right, with light or any of those things, right, and uses the brain to understand that, right? So that we actually call it as, in that function, in short, we call it as mind, right? So that we need to understand. So it's all scientific. It's not like something magic. So the difference is recognized by the brain cells, right? And actually, not it doesn't stop at the brain. It because of the biomagnetic waves, it rotates within the body, right? It actually goes and gets stored in these genetic center as well as a characterized knots, right? Then what are thoughts, right? So anything that is stored when your biomagnetic wave, or when your mind is in that particular specific frequency, whatever has been stored in that particular frequency, that something will come up and expand and comes to your brain and is reflected as thoughts, right? So you are seeing a sweet, then suddenly a memory comes like, oh, when I tested this, this was really good, right? So that uh, is which what was stored, that comes to the brain, and you are visualizing that past event or the experience, that's thought. Okay, so we need to understand that. Let's go further. So let's look at mind more now. Then we'll go into thoughts, right? So mind it's a mental function, right? One is, we talked about the sense organs. There are mind has 10 stages of operations, right? The first thing is sensation, or the feeling, or the pain, right? The sensation could be, you might be hungry, right? And then the body cells need more energy. That is being felt, right? Or it could be like somebody is pinching you. That affects your biomagnetic thing. So that it can feel, right? Or so it can feel the sensation, right? Then it understands, okay, let's say if you're feeling hungry, then you're feeling that sensation, then you feel the need. Okay, I'm hungry, I need food, right? The thought comes, right? That's where thought comes. I need food. Then the effort, okay, to get the food, what will I do? I will, in the mind, makes an effort to get the food. Then it takes action. So go like make the food or go and buy it or whatever. Right? Then the result is you satisfied, right? So the result is could be uh, it could be pleasure, pain, peace, etc. So it could be anything, right? So that is actually enjoyment. So results could be like the hunger is satisfied. That is result. The enjoyment would be like pleasure or pain or peace or ecstasy. So that would be enjoyment, right? It could be you might like the food, you may not like the food, right? And experience is the next stage. The difference is enjoyment is at that moment. Experience is it's like a thought. Oh, I had a good experience. It's like thinking about it's about the memory of that thing more than the actual. When you actually enjoy it, it's more enjoyment. So when you are thinking about that enjoyment later, it is called experience. Then you do the research. Okay, this is good. That is not good. Then you realize, okay, this is what needs to be done going forward. Then you conclude, okay, this is what it is, right? So all these different mental activities, right? All these 10 activities actually constitute the mind. So we have to understand that, and it all starts from the sensation and the need. So it's all starts from the feeling and the thoughts. So we need to. That's the starting point for everything else. And all the other actions, experience, research, realization, all happens using thoughts only. So now we talked about the cognizing, right? The mind functions and everything. So how does the imprinting happens? So and what are thoughts, right? How is the thought related, right? From young age, right? I mean, even only till the years of 3, your brain is actually developing. Only after 3, you are able to remember the experiences, right? Even before 3, it is very difficult. I mean, like you can't remember because the brain was developing, right? So brain, when it sees or when it hears anything through the sense organs, right? That is actually comes to the brain. Then because of the circulation of the biomagnetism, it is stored at the genetic center. That is how the imprinting of all your actions, thoughts, not only the actions, right? You don't need to do any sense organ. If you're thinking about something and more, that actually gets imprinted again and again as a more stronger one in the genetic center. So this is how imprinting happens. You do anything, thoughts, word, and deed through sense organs, then the brain, eventually to the genetic center. Then again, from genetic center, when when the mind is operating, your biomagnetism operating at a particular frequency, whatever was stored in the genetic center, that one thing that comes to the brain. The brain visualizes that thing, right? Through the brain cells, it expands whatever was stored. So that we call it as thoughts. And thoughts, it continuously happens. It doesn't stop. So there's the whole imprinting and how thoughts come up. So let's understand more about uh, thoughts. So thoughts is a specialized function of mind, right? Whatever was stored it comes out, right? You feel hungry, immediately the thought, okay, when I felt the hungry last time, you automatically, the corresponding thing that we did last time, right? It's the eating. So that immediately that whatever was stored in the genetic center, that comes to the brain cells, and brain expands and shows it, okay, you need to eat. You need to, then you need to go somewhere and eat it, right? So that's how thoughts work. And thoughts stores compares things, right, by the four factors: volume, force, time, and distance, right? When you look at something, you remember the time, where it was, how it was forced, right, and the volume, whether it is small, big, and everything. So thoughts happen in these four dimensions. It compares each and everything in these dimensions. And thoughts, most of the time, it is comparing the present experience with your past experience, present enjoyment with your past experiences. That's also we need to understand, right? And in other words, mind actually calculates everything it perceives, right, into four parameters. Reckoning is another word for calculating. So reckoning is the another word for calculating. And this is about the thoughts, how it does the calculations. And thoughts are the source for words, deeds, results, and imprints. So if you need to correct anything, right, it is the thought by which you can actually change the whole thing, right? Uh, because the words, the results, the deeds, the actions that we do, again the imprints, even if you have to correct the imprints, it is the thoughts, the good thoughts. If you have good thoughts, noble thoughts, then actually everything else is handled, right? So that's something that we need to understand. It's the source for everything. So let's go further before we do the detailed analysis. Let's go further into understanding of characteristics of thoughts, right? So in the expanded state of mind, you will have good and noble thoughts. What is an expanded state of mind? I mean, you are not just within your body. You are connected with the universal self. When your mind expands, right? When you are not thinking about only yourself, when you in the expanded state of mind, you will get good and noble thoughts. In the narrow state of mind, aggressive and harmful thoughts. When you want mine, right? Mine, I am, right? So those are the source of trouble, right? And the ego and the possessiveness, right? So in the narrow state of mind, so you will have aggressive and harmful thoughts. So meditation is, all about your expanding your mind. Automatically, you'll have good and noble thoughts. Introspection is all about you have the meditation give that capability and capacity. Introspection is all about actually using that capability capacity tool to make things better. So introspection is actually is where you reap the most benefits. Automatic meditation gives the benefits. Introspection is where you can if you are meditating, if you are doing proper exercise, if you are having good habits, right? Introspection is where you will reap the most benefits. So going further, so you would have heard about Naragam, right? What is Naragam? In the olden days, to make people follow or do good things, the scholars, right? So the people were not highly developed individuals, intellectually, right? They were not highly developed. So to streamline their activities, uh, the intellectuals at that time created something called Naragam and Swargam. So if you do bad, you go to Naragam. If you do good, Swargam. But interestingly, if you really, they were very intelligent, they were smart. So let's look at what is Naragam, right? Naragam means, let's split it. Nara, Agam, right? Nara means body, Agam means mind or the soul, right? And so when your mind is operating, right, within your body as the boundary, then that is actually Naraka, right? You are always agitated. You are harmful thoughts. You do harmful. The activities are also harmful, and the results are also harmful, right? So that is actually Naraka, right? When your mind is operating narrow within your body, just focused on your body and body's needs, it is Naraka. What is Swargam? Uh, Swar means energy or the right energy or the life force, and the agam means it is again mind or soul. So when your mind operates at the energy level, right, at the expanded level, that is Swargam, right? So there is no separate Naragam or Swargam. It is when you are expanded, when you are expanded, that is actually Swargam. And let's go further. So thoughts can be analyzed only by other thoughts, right? And there is nothing else, right, that you have, right? It is thought. If you want to analyze a thought, you need to have one more thought. So what we do most of the time is we constantly get the thoughts. We don't really analyze, right? Or we don't really sometimes take an action on some of the thoughts. Something would be very simple. You need to file your tax. Maybe if you have decided you know the deadline, if you are not able to act right now, at least have a plan saying, giving a thought to that thought, right? Okay, I'm going to meet this date, this person to file the tax. Then that particular thought of filing the tax, even if it comes, immediately the corresponding thought of, okay, this is the action comes, and that thought will not come and again and again. But we don't really do most of the time, right? That is where we are talking about this session, analysis of thoughts. So thoughts can be only analyzed by the other thoughts. And if the mind is a stage, thought is it plays all the different roles. It's the actor, director, it is watching, and it is being watched. Everything is thoughts. And we need to have more thoughts. So we have thoughts like which is doing the actor and director, maybe more actors' thoughts, but we need more of like being watched thoughts as well, right? Thoughts which can watch others and take necessary actions. And people sometimes have a wrong notion that thoughts, by meditation, thoughts will stop. Thoughts will not stop. Maybe in the frequency of the thoughts, right? Number of thoughts might reduce, but thoughts will never stop. It's like a moving your cycle, right? You just need to, if you don't, uh, if you don't want to fall, you need to just drive it. So thoughts will not stop. It will always come out. Till you are there, it will always come out. And at the same time, you can train the mind to have good, noble thoughts, right? Uh, you can have, so you would have, like, because of, we are not just us, right? Even in this lifetime, we have done good and bad deeds. Of course, when you go back and back, the genetic center, right? It is not just contains the imprints of your current life. It has the imprints of all the past generations. But when you go back, and it has the, your sources like five sense animals till the one sense, right? And even before. So even before, from the atom energy particle level, that's where you have come up. So there are a lot of, during the animal stage, you would have done all the different bad things, right? But for animals, it is normal. It doesn't count as bad things, but because they don't know how to produce food, right? So they will have to kill something, right? But all those things are stored. So the thoughts, whatever thoughts that are coming up, both good and bad will come up, right? So to avoid the bad, the only way to do is good thoughts. Somebody was asked, right, in a pod, empty pod, there is air. The only way to remove the air is fill it something else, right? Fill it with water, the air is out. You can't remove the air. You can't just remove the air. Something else has to be filled. So that's something that we need to understand. And another very interesting thing about the whole thoughts and everything is about how it is stored, right? So the frequency of your mind, frequency of your biomagnetism, every wave, right, has a frequency. We have all studied, right? Every wave has a frequency, and in the genetic center, the way it stores is the moment when we are doing that activity or thought, whatever frequency we were in, at that frequency it stores that particular action, deed, or words, or the thoughts in the genetic center. So when you are in that particular frequency, those thoughts will actually come out. So when you are actually actively engaged through the senses, or when you are in anger, or when you are agitated, right? Your mind frequency is actually higher. So beta, it's like 14 to 40. When you're agitated, it could be more than 20, right? So it stores at that frequency in the genetic center, right? And when you're peaceful, so those peaceful thoughts are, when you're peaceful, your mind frequency is operating as a lesser frequency, lesser alpha or lesser than that, right? Alpha is 8 to 13. So you have lower frequencies as well, right? So it gets stored at that frequency. So when you do meditation, right, what happens? You are actually, your mind, maybe the whole day, right? You are not in the agitated phase. Even when you work, you are actually in a calmer frequency. So automatically, whatever the calm thoughts, good thoughts that were stored in the genetic center, that comes out, right? And when you are agitated, the harmful thoughts come out. So that's something that we need to understand. That's why when you are calm, automatically good thoughts come out. So so this meditation is, and then the whole thoughts and everything is related. And thoughts, sometimes we think that thoughts will definitely have effect, right? So sometimes we think that, okay, I just thought about it, right? I will not do it. I just thought about harming somebody, but I will not do it. But what happens is that the people who have similar thoughts, this thought, right? Thoughts is like a thought wave. Any wave, it travels in the light of speed, right? Uh, from here you talk through in the radio waves, or the waves, right? We can actually talk to somebody in India instantaneously, right? There is no lack in hearing. So the waves travel at the speed of light, and thought waves could be even more, right? And we think that we thought it doesn't have it will not have any effect. Maybe we may not actually bring that into action, but those thoughts, if somebody is weak, somebody has a similar thought, right? It gives that strength to them to act. Okay, so always having a good thoughts, it's better. And sometimes we were I don't know whether like the natural disasters. They say that when in a society there are so many harmful thoughts, people have so many harmful thoughts, and if those thoughts have no, I mean, like they're not able to get into action, right? Then actually they result in some kind of disaster. So we need to understand that thoughts will definitely have an effect on you and others. So now that we understand the thoughts, so this is just at a high level. We don't want to go in detail. So mind, we talked about a narrow state of mind and expanded state of mind. So mind operates at like five layers: Annamaya kosha, pranamaya kosha, manomaya kosha, Vijnanamaya kosha, and Anandamaya kosha. So when you are Annamaya kosha means like you are focused just on the body, right? And like each layer above is going into the expanded state. So when you are in the expanded, in the meditation, that's what happens when your mind expands. When you are in the expanded state, so you get good thoughts. So we were talking about emotional state, right? These are the different thoughts that come in: greed, anger, miserliness, right? Immorals, sexual passion, vanity, and vengeance. So perfection is contentment. Similar, same thoughts: contentment, tolerance, right? chastity, parity, and forgiveness. So all those good thoughts come in when you are in when you are in expanded state of mind. So now we understood how whatever we do is gets imprinted in the genetic center, how actually mind cognizes something. It is by the relative differences between the biomagnetic waves that are emitted by the sense organs through the brain. We store the things in the genetic center. It gets stored, and whatever is gets stored when the mind or the biomagnetism operated that particular frequency, whatever was stored at that particular frequency just comes as a comes to the brain cells, and that expands that as a thought, right? And thought is the source for everything. Now let's look at the thoughts a little more. So what are the different reasons why the thoughts come, right? The first thing is needs, right? Need is a reason for thought. You are feeling hungry. You need to do certain activity. You need to go to school. You need to go to college, or you need to work. So that's a it's a need, right? You are feeling hungry. Eating is the action is eating, right? So any thoughts, if it is based on need, I think we should actually encourage it and do it, uh, right? So second is, but at the same time, need is, I mean, we need to think about it. There are some more formulas for thoughts. Let me show you the formula, right? Thoughts would be such that it causes no harm either physically or mentally to self or others at present or future, right? So that should be genuine thoughts. Even you feel a need that harms somebody, so better we don't do it. So this is the formula. Then most of the time, any thoughts that comes out of need, right? It's good thoughts. We should encourage and take action on it. Second one is habits. It is just that it's a habit, right? Let's say on one day you had a very late breakfast at 10:30 a.m. But 1 a.m. you suddenly feel like eating lunch because it's a habit. I mean, you have been always eating at lunch at 1 p.m. You want to eat. It is not really out of need, right? And that is habit. And we need to good habits. They are actually help. Bad habits, it's a problem. So because of the habits, you get thoughts as well, right? So we need to analyze those thoughts. I mean, if it is needed, do it. Otherwise, don't do it. Circumstances is other thing, right? Uh, so you like coffee from a particular restaurant. So again and again talking about food, but let's continue on that, right? You are actually not feeling. You like the coffee or any bakery items from a particular restaurant. You go around that area, right? You are just crossing that place. You feel like actually taking a coffee, drinking a coffee, or you go and get a coffee because it's the circumstances, right? Environment that is that is the reason for this thing. So many times it is not really needed, the thoughts from environment, but sometimes it is good, right? I mean, as one of your friend actually does something good, uh, uh, and the person does some good activity, you might think that you want to follow that, right? So environment is not a bad factor all the time. Then the external factors, right? It's also a source of thought. Well, so let's take the example of same around the food and thing, right? So you are going in a market, walking in a market where there are a lot of vendors. In India, like people, the vendors sell fruits and other things outside, right? So they are all yelling, saying that, okay, mangoes, this, that, and all, right? So you are just walking, you don't need to buy anything, but one of the mango vendor, right? I mean, there was no buyer for him for a long time. And he has been thinking, I need somebody to buy my mangoes. Otherwise, I need some money, right? So he has been throwing that strong thought about somebody has to buy mangoes from my store. So you are walking on that street, and if you are not conscious, if you are not very aware of your thoughts, you might be actually influenced by the thoughts of that particular vendor. You might actually go and buy mangoes, right? And when you actually walking back to your home, then you realize, oh, you already have mangoes and your family actually has traveled to somewhere. Why did he really buy? So the external factors, somebody others' thoughts also can actually come as a thought in you. So you have to be very aware of it. Most of the time, this kind of thoughts are not really helpful. So you need to avoid them. So thoughts from others' imposition. Next is heredity. The thoughts from heredity, right? I mean, it's different. You may not really think about any certain need or circumstances, right? To do anything. Like you want to suddenly you think of, okay, building a school in your village, right? The reason could be like maybe your parents or their parents, right? One of them was thinking about building a school, right? But it didn't happen. That imprint has come to you, and you have now the right things to actually do it. That comes into action, right? So some of those thoughts are heredity, or some drinking habit, right? I mean, suddenly you feel like some I mean, like if your forefathers or the parents of parents, right? Somebody was having the thought of some harmful thought, you might actually do it now. So thoughts could come from heredity as well. Then the divinity, right? The same school, right? I mean, you let's assume that none of your past generations, the parents, right? Past generation parents were thinking about actually building a school, not from heredity, not from need or anything, right? But the people in that area, right, all have been thinking about, okay, if there is a school in this my village or my town, a good school would be really good, right? So all those thoughts, but they couldn't really do it, right? So all those thoughts come together, and the divinity and finds a person, right person, and makes that happen, right? So some of those thoughts are through divinity. So anything that come from through divinity is actually very good and should be entertained. So thoughts could be due to all these factors, and by doing good meditation, we can actually understand the reason for the thoughts, and you can take corresponding action. So we already know the formula. Irrespective of where the thoughts come from, thoughts should be such that it causes no harm, either physically or mentally, to self or others, at present or future. Okay. So now that we know, so what do you do? How do you actually analyze the thoughts? So the final portion, right? You do meditation for like 15 minutes, or like whenever you meditate, right? You do meditation. Then after concluding the meditation, sit for some time and keep the mind at the Turiya itself, right? Turiya meditation is it's always good for analyzing for introspection. So keep the mind at the Turiya, and look, get the list of all the thoughts that are coming up, right? Then analyze the thought one by one, right? Analyze them, whether they are good or bad, and the reason behind those thoughts, right? Whether what is the reason behind that? Is the need, habit? What is the reason? And right? Then, if good, right? Once you find that, okay, and use the formula, right? Whatever we talked about, it shouldn't harm anybody physically or mentally now or the future. If good, further research about the possibilities to materialize them, right? So how do I actually make that happen? Do I have the enough things? So if I don't have the enough things to actually make that happen, what do I need to do? So do all those planning. If bad, then make an auto suggestion. So as we talked earlier, the thoughts can be actually watched by another thoughts, right? You make an auto suggestion. Okay, this thought is a harmful one. Then I will not do it. I will instead do this, right? Some kind of an auto suggestion. So what happens is that when that bad thought comes again, this auto suggestion, whatever we have put right, if you have if your mind is not strong, right, then auto suggestion may not really work. You have to be strong enough. That's why you need to do meditation and other practices, right? Your mind is strong, then you can actually have an auto suggestion. Okay, I will not do this. Then that harmful thought, when it comes, auto suggestion also comes out. Immediately it cancels out. You don't really ponder over that thought again and again. So that this way you actually slowly eliminate thoughts. You have better clarity. Your mind is very clear, right? Cluttered mind is you might be a good person, but if you have a lot of cluttered thoughts, unanalyzed thoughts, like even the good thoughts, you don't really actually if you don't really act on it, right, it again and again comes up. So this exercise on analysis of thoughts have to be done on a regular basis, the at least on a monthly basis, right, for an hour. But it is suggested that even moment by moment, right? If you want to be a great person, moment by moment, when something comes, immediately another thought has to be the thought to analyze that, not like another thought, right? To make it confusing. So, so moment by moment, if you can analyze your thoughts and act on it, you become a great person. So this is how you do it. So this is the table. Spelling mistake. So yeah, so this is the table, and you can whatever thoughts comes, you can put it under one of this category and say good or bad, and you can also add another column, right? Plan, right? How do you want to execute it? Good or bad is the key in conclusion, and how you want to execute it, right? So this is how you will do the analysis on the thoughts. So from our Maharishi, so awareness increases the willpower. Meditation gives awareness. Awareness increases the willpower. Willpower increases the power of thought. Thought force activates the physical body, and eventually results are produced. If your thoughts are strong, right, when your mind is not cluttered with so many thoughts, when there are clear thoughts, then it will be powerful. And when the thought force is strong, actually the results would be definitely produced. Be blessed by the divine. Any questions?
Yeah, you explained well actually regarding this Naragam Surgam, right? Uh,
Yes, sir.
so Naragam, uh, if you are listening your body uh, and then act, that is Naragam. Swagam, you explain in energy plus mind actually. Energy means if you have a good thought, then your mind will act. Is it a right statement
Yeah,
again? So,
I will say in a different way. Yeah. So Narakam means if you are bothered only about your body, right? Only about your self. Your mind is actually not expanded. Your mind is operating just within your body, right? You need to listen to your body. No question about it. You need to. It's your body. You need to listen to that. But if you are only bothered about your mind is operating within your body, right? What happens is that eventually it results in ego and possessiveness, right? Then you are bothered about only about your body, so you want things only for you. That becomes possessiveness, and you want to show that you are great, right? That becomes ego. You want to be aggressive, right? So that results in all the harmful thoughts. It results in all the other six things, right? Like greed, anger, and everything is because of the ego and possessiveness. So when your mind is confined within your body, that what happens. Swargam means it's an expanded state of mind. That's what we call it. Energy. Energy is everywhere, right? It is not that's energy here. Energy is the whole universe. When your mind is expanded through the entire energy field, right? That is a Swargam. means that then you will start feeling that everything is you are all connected, right? Then you will not do harmful things. Automatically, the results would be you will also get good things. Right? So that is swarga. So you can call it as narrow state of mind instead of or the expanded state of mind instead of body and the energy, right? You can eventually call it as narrow state and the expanded state. When you're expanded, you automatically everybody is become inclusive. Then then you don't really be aggressive, right? And you want to share, right? You don't want to be too possessive as well. Then you get good thoughts, and you get good results as well. Yeah. Does
Uh,
that answer your question? Yeah.
yeah, you answered my question. Yeah, thanks, Aya. It was it was a good explanation. Thanks, Aya.
Nandri.
வாழ்க வளமுடன். Um, so when you're saying to analyze the thoughts and write it down whether it is good or bad, how do you categorize the um, the guilty feeling? So sometimes you have done something in the past which you cannot go back and rectify now. Those kind of thoughts, that comes in when you consider
Yeah.
those as bad and just let it go, or how do you handle that?
Yeah. I mean, so we are. It's all about we have to take action, right? I mean, if the harmful thoughts, right? You have, let's say, you've somebody is hurt because of whatever the actions or the whatever we have done, right? So at this point, whatever is possible, right? How do you, the way we will have to approach it? You, you are now okay. You are in expanded state. Okay, you want to you want to make amendments to that, right? So try to see how do we actually, if there is a way to correct, right? Way to if you have harmed somebody, I mean, maybe ask for, I mean, say sorry or doing good things to them. I think that's what we should plan. We shouldn't just let go. If there is an opportunity to make amends, you do that thing, automatically that gets imprinted. Then that eventually that guilt feeling, that thought, right? It gets superimposed by this good thoughts. Even if you're not able to act, right? I mean, like maybe that good thoughts that you want to do, make corrections. You thought you felt bad, and if there is an opportunity, you will do good for them, right? That goes as an imprint and could be a superimposition, and that guilt feeling eventually will get reduced. At some point, it should go away as well.
Thank you, Aya.
Valga Valamudan Prabhuaya, Sweta here.
Yeah.
Yeah, just want to add a nice quote that I really like from Buddha. It says, "The mind is everything. What you think is what you become." So it's always important to keep good thoughts. Yeah. So like, but I have one more story which I want to share. Like, for
Yeah.
example, a guy went to a saint and asked, "How do I need a magic mantra for me to, I mean, if I say something, everything should happen or something." So the saint said, "Okay, I'll give you a mantra. The magic mantra is Om. You say Om, but you should never think about a monkey in your head. If you think about a monkey, then that mantra won't work." So that guy will be going back home thinking, "Oh, I achieved something, I got the mantra, now I'll be most powerful in the world." But he'll be saying Om, and then the monkey comes up in his mind. He'll be saying Om, then he'll think, "Okay, I'll go home, take a shower, then start fresh again." Then wherever he see, he'll be on the way home, wherever he'll see, he'll be searching for monkeys. Yeah, this analysis of thought is good, but when we try to say, "Oh, that bad thought shouldn't come to my mind," it's like saying that monkey shouldn't come to my mind and keeps on coming. Just wanted to ask, like, how do we yeah, how do we counter it with good thoughts? I mean, I felt that if you keep your mind in divinity, that actually reduces these thoughts a little bit. But I just want to know your inputs, Aya. Thank you.
Yes, Amma, it's well said. I mean, but first that quote as well as the story, right? It's a well said one, right? Now, so we were talking about auto suggestion, right? So this is a typical. I mean, this monkey is a very it's a very tricky thing, right? As well as any thoughts, it could come, right? I mean, but you have to analyze that thought, right? You are getting a thought that some harmful thought, but a lot of times we don't really analyze and we act on it. But if you have actually analyzed and said, okay, this thought, when I act, if I act, this is the result, so I will not do it, right? That the whole chain also has to be very thoughtfully and give a auto suggestion. Okay, when this thought, this we shouldn't say this thought, this for this thought, okay, this is harmful, I will not do this, right? So if you have that auto session with the proper meditation, after meditation, if you do have that auto session, automatically when that harmful thought comes, this auto session, whatever you have given auto session, also comes and cancels out. You can't actually stop that thought, right? Eventually, at some point, because of this auto session and you are going in deep in meditation, it will go away, but you can't stop the thoughts. At least when the thought comes, you have the auto session and you don't really ponder over it and you don't really act on it. So that's what we can do, right? So yeah, you can't really stop the thoughts, but eventually at some point it will go away, because when you are thinking again and again, it gets strength, right? It gets imprinted strong. When you are with auto suggestion and meditation, it becomes weaker and weaker. At some point, it goes.
Yeah, I
that's
agree with you. Yeah. So you're saying when after meditation, when our frequency levels are low, at that point when you're putting the auto suggestion, it will be very much effective then.
correct.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Helps. Thanks.
Yeah, Prabhu, yeah. In the example you have told, right, in an empty vessel, if you want to remove the air, so we have to put something, then automatically air will be out, right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I could remember that example for this,
Yes, yes.
ஐயா வாழ்க வளமுடன். ஐயா அந்த அடக்க நினைத்தால் அந்த இது இருக்கு இல்லைங்களா, அலையும் அடக்க நினைத்தால் அலையும் அரியம் அணைந்தால் அடங்கும், அந்த இது
yeah. So thoughts is yes, yeah. So thoughts like specific everything, right? For most of the things, it's like when you want to resist something, it actually persists. And thoughts is definitely right. When you want to resist a particular thought, it will actually become stronger. It will persist, right? But if you are able trying to understand it, it will actually become it actually becomes you can it actually slows down. So
comes under control.
Comes under control. Yeah, comes under control. So I will say that. Yeah. So that's the process that we are doing here.
And I also feel that association with good people also reduces bad thoughts. You can put your thoughts on that, Aya.
Yes, Amma, definitely. I mean, it's like when you are whomever you are interacting with, right? It's like my mind is the thoughts, everything is a wave thing, right? So whatever they are thinking, when you are in that field, right? So when their thoughts are good, and it actually provokes good thoughts from you as well. So the environment is definitely a major factor. So yeah, good people, because of that environment, their frequency level, right, and the good thoughts, it actually brings out good thoughts from you as well. Arulaya, your thoughts, yeah.
Wonderfully said. So in Tamil, we call it as the string, which is used to actually tie the jasmine flower. The string will also get the good fragrance from the jasmine flower. Similarly, everything is in the wave form. So if you get in association with good people, you will also get the intuition or intentions to do good. So even in this analysis, one of the factor which is influencing your thoughts, is association by or influenced by other people's thoughts. Remember, I was explaining about the mango. Someone is trying to sell the mango or going over to buy the mango. You also get influenced by that thought. Similar. Thank you. Wonderful session, analysis of thoughts. Balaji, go ahead and bless our Ayya, and let's continue into the second session, eradication of anger or neutralization of anger, right?
Yes, neutralization.
Yeah. வாழ்க வையகம், வாழ்க வையகம், வாழ்க வளமுடன். Thank you, Prabhaya, for walking us through this beautiful session, analysis of thoughts. I hope all the participants got the fundamentals of thoughts and they will apply in their life and get betterment. Be blessed by the divine. So let us all bless our Sky Master, Arunidhi Prabhuaya. By the grace of divine power, Prabhuaya and family enjoy good health, long life, enough wealth, prosperity, wisdom, and peace. Be blessed by the divine. And now let us go on to the next session. Our Sky Master, Arunidhi Gokul Kumar Ayya, will walk us through neutralization of anger.
Be blessed by the divine. Are you able to hear my voice clearly?
Loud and clear, Ayya.
Perfect. Prabhu, Ayya, it was a great session. Thanks for that wonderful session, Ayya.
Yeah, the video is actually online on the YouTube, and it will become as a recording also, just as an information. Thank you. Yeah, sorry, I had to interrupt. Go ahead.
Thank you. Let me quickly share my screen. Is everyone able to see my screen?
Yes, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Be blessed by the divine. So what is the most deadliest thing that is similar to a coronavirus? Or what is the one thing that is causing a huge damage to our relationship within our family members? So recently, I got an opportunity to talk with one of my close friend. So during this lockdown period, and when we were casually chatting, he started saying that I'm just looking forward for when the office is going to reopen. I want to get back to the office. I was curious to understand more into that. Oh, why he's saying like that? So after our conversation, then he slowly opened up. So then I started asking, okay, so do you like, or are you missing your peers, your colleagues, or your manager? He said, no, that's not the case. But I want to go to office for a different reason. Okay, that caused more curiosity within me to understand the reason, right? So after some time, then he told me, no, Gokul, like after my marriage, this is the first time as a family, we are all staying together for a so long period of time during this lockdown. We are spending entire day within my family, right? Within our family members. And because of that, there are a lot of misunderstandings, miscommunications, expectations not being met. And this triggers my anger. So either I'm shouting at my family members or they are shouting at me. Now, if myself and my wife are in a good mood, our kids trigger us. So always there is kind of unrestlessness happening in the family. So I think this would be a bit common situation in most of our lives, especially during this lockdown, because lockdown is already a stress. And added to that, if all different conflicting personalities come together, and if you put them in a room and ask to stay with them for a continuous period of time without going outside, then definitely such confusions and misunderstanding always happen. So today we are going to just talk about neutralization of anger. Let's try to think about what is anger, why anger arises, what is its origin, and what happens when anyone gets anger, and how we can effectively manage it or neutralize it. So in Vedatrium, we do physical exercise and meditation to maintain a very good, stable mental and physical health of an individual. In addition to that, man is a bundle of very old karmas, imprints of experiences, both good and bad. So because of this imprints of experiences, he continues to do certain things repeatedly. As a result, when we do certain things repeatedly, there's a deeper impact that's been created in our personality. So we do meditation every day. So the objective of doing meditation is to lead a very peaceful and harmonious life. For that, there are various introspection lectures that we have as part of our curriculum or through the course. So neutralization of anger is one among those. We are going to deep dive into that to really see how we can best manage the anger. So as already mentioned, we will be covering the anger causes, the ill effects, finally the practice, and how we can achieve this. So what is anger? So basically, from a layman term, I can define anger as a feeling. Okay, feeling is fine. Is it positive feeling or negative feeling? Definitely it's a negative feeling. Why? Because you're hurting yourself when you get anger on anyone. And apart from that, you're spoiling the relationship with the other person as well. So basically, it is a negative energy that is expelled from one. Now, why we are saying that we need to neutralize this anger? Why we are not saying that we need to control the anger? Now, when we start to control the anger, it's more dangerous. For that, it's always better to reveal or to expose or to vent out your anger. When you begin to control your anger, anger will change into vengeance, which we never want to go to that side. So when does anger happen? Anger happens when our expectations are not met. So we do have expectations within our family members, in our office, or in a close relationship. So when that expectations is not being met, obviously we will have a disappointment. And at particular stage, that disappointment will convert into anger. So what are the other causes when we have a suppressed emotions? So suppressed emotions comes into picture mostly in a hierarchical level, like for example, between an employee and a manager, right? So the employee cannot directly express all his thoughts and his feelings towards his manager, because there's a certain set of arrangement made between a manager and an employee, right? Now, when he tries to expose all his emotions, that might backfire him. So there's a sensitivity of a fear for that person. So he tries to control that emotion within himself. And when he tries to keep on compressing certain emotions at one particular point of time, it just explodes like a dynamite. It's like a balloon where if you keep on blowing air into it, it can only accommodate to a certain extent. Now, beyond a limit, it will explode. That's the best example that I can think of when we are talking about this suppressed emotions. Now, the next one, if we go, we get anger when we are not being appreciated enough. So be it in our family or in our office work, let's say that we did a great job. So we think that we did a great job, that's fine. But assume that overall you did a very good job and you're not getting any appreciation or recognition from your boss or from your leadership or from your peers. In that case, definitely you will get anger, because there's a lot of hard work and effort that you have put in, and if people are not recognizing you, then that's a trigger point for you. The other critical parameter is misunderstanding. Misunderstanding, miscommunication, more or less they fall under same bucket. So in all our communications happening within our family or to the society, there's always some piece of miscommunication or misunderstanding happening. Either we might not completely say what we feel or what we want to do. We reveal only 80% of what we think. Now the other person consumes 60% of what you have already revealed. So there's a gap of 20%. So that's where all this misunderstanding comes. And because of this misunderstandings, if anything that you have expected out of him is not being fulfilled, there arises anger. So the next thing, when we try to analyze further, we get anger when others take granted for us, right? For example, let's say like people are not reaching out to you for a certain set of a decision that needs to be arrived as a team. They come to a conclusion and they ask you to follow that, saying that we all decided this thing and this is what we need to follow. At that point, you might think that why I'm not being consulted, why my feelings are not being accounted for. So am I a soft target? So that's one of the area where we get anger. And finally, the most important, safety and security. Whenever it's under threat, we'll get anger. For example, we are in a lockdown. We know that it's because of this COVID-19. Now let's assume that you go to a grocery store. You wear mask, gloves, everything, and you go with a proper protection. But then the other person coming in front, for argument's sake, let's say like he is not wearing any mask and he comes and he sneezes on top of you. Now we will get anger. Why? Because there's a concern for safety there, right? We know how the current virus spreads. And if the other person is not taking a proper precaution and he comes to threaten us by sneezing on top of us, then definitely we will get anger. Now, who gets anger? Or when we get anger, who gets impacted by that? Who gets impacted surrounding us? So first and foremost thing, it's like our family members. So basically it's like a Pareto rule, right? 80-20 rule. 80% of your angerness comes from 20% of the people with whom you spend most of the time. So that's mostly your family members, yourself, your life partner, your kids, siblings, your parents, or any close relatives, maybe close friends as well. So why we say that anger is very dangerous? So though initially at certain situations, anger might arise in a valid reason, for a valid reason. But the point is, whenever anger arises, it's a feeling. And we all know that whenever a feeling arises, it records in your genetic center. And finally, a similar situation when it happens in the next time, the same set of result will happen again. And that will turn into an habit. And at one point of time, you begin to lose your patience. You go out of your control, even though when there is no valid reason. And this is a famous verse from our Tamil poet, Subramania Bharatiyar, who says like, anger is like setting fire to oneself or cutting the neck with the sword of one's mind. So dangerous is the anger. We all know that anger is so dangerous. But then are we able to get rid of it? Unfortunately, no. Why we are not able to get rid of it? That's because of the habit. Now, we already know that when we get anger, our body and mind get spoiled. So how it gets spoiled? We are going to deep dive into that to learn or to understand or to explore more minute details, scientific details on how our mind and body gets exploited or spoiled when anger arises. When a person gets angry, his mental wave frequency increases drastically. Let's assume that we are all functioning in a normal beta wave mode, around 15 cycles per second. Now, a person gets angered or triggered. His wave frequency increases to 20, 25, or even 35 based on the intensity of the anger. So when wave frequency increases, what happens next? The conversion of biomagnetism comes into being and it gets exhausted. The conversion of biomagnetism and the exhaustion happens simultaneously. So this is a process. Conversion and exhaustion is a process. Now, when this thing happened, his biomagnetism energy falls low. For understanding purpose, let's say like a person needs 100 units of biomagnetism in order to function a normal, healthy life. Now, when he gets anger, as we have already seen, his wave mental frequency increases. And now his biomagnetism falls to 60 units. Now his shortage of 40 units in order to leave a normal functioning. Now the beauty of the nature is, whenever there's a mistake done by a mankind, it always comes to rescue him. So similarly, here in this situation, in order to charge the biomagnetism, in order to compensate the loss of that 40 units, the life force particle comes into the picture here. Why the life force particles? It's because life force particles is the one that charges the biomagnetism. So let's say like the life force particles spins on its own on a normal speed. So on an average, let's say like it's spinning around 1 million times per second. Now, in order to compensate for this 40 units, it needs to spin more vigorously. It needs to spin more fast. Now, what happens when it spins fast? When it begins to spin fast, a repulsive action comes into being. And as a result, the distance between the two life force particles increases. The volume of the life force, which is otherwise also called as the astral body, it expands and goes beyond the physical body. We can understand this with the help of a small experiment which we have learned in our school days, boiling of a water. When we boil water, what happens? Water gets converted into a vapor. Now, what is the volume of the water after it got converted into vapor? It is said that 1 drop of water gets expanded 60 times. So similarly, due to the repulsive action of the spinning of the life force particle, the volume of the astral body or the life force expands and it dissipates or it goes beyond the physical body. Thereby, we lose the life force particle. The irony is that once these life force particles goes out of your body, it doesn't come back in. It's lost. Once it is lost, it's lost. So at the end of the day, when a person gets anger, there might be 2% or 4% or 5% of loss of his life energy, just because of the spike in that mental frequency wave. So now let's dig a bit deeper into that. After that, what it happens? Now, as we see, when the volume of that life force particle expands, it begins to impact the internal organs. How it does? Now, we all know that the life force particle is the lightest particle. Our body is made up of Panjabhutas, and out of that, the life force particle is the lightest particle. And scientifically, all the lightest particle will always tend to move upwards or travel upwards. Similarly, in this case, when the volume of that life force particle expands, it always tries to move upwards towards your head. And thereby, it creates a friction with your eyes, with your brain, with your heart, lungs, and other critical important organs. And that's why we can observe that a person who gets anger, immediately you can see that his eyes will become reddish. That would be the first symptom. And then when his brain got impacted, he doesn't have control of the situation. He will lose his temper. His heart beat might increase, palpitations might happen. And finally, there might be even a situation where he takes a very incorrect decision for which he's going to regret for his entire life. So hence, it's always very important for us to operate under an optimum mental wave frequency, not to get triggered. So man's existence has basically three purposes. One is security, second is enjoyment, third is perfection. Now, perfection comes when there's a development of consciousness. Now, the other two things, the security and the enjoyment, for that, in order to completely use that, we need to always operate in a normal frequency of mind. We should not be angered in order to lead a normal, peaceful, noble life. Now, what is the second thing that happens when you get anger? When you get anger, is it causing anything good to us? Definitely not. What happens to the other person? Let's think about in that perspective. When we try to analyze closely, we realize that most of the times we get anger with a person with whom we are very close with. They would have been loving us, caring us, helping us, or dedicating their service for us. And only with such individuals, our anger arises. And after we come down to a normal state, obviously there will be a mark in the other person's feelings, which cannot be erased at all. You end up spoiling the relationship with that person. It's like hitting a nail on a door and then you plug the nail out. You can say that I have plugged the nail out, but then still the imprints will always remain the same. The third thing, what happens when you get anger? You're creating imprints of sinful waves. Let's see why this is happening. Why we create sinful waves? That's because of habit. Now, when we try to trace the evolution of human mankind, right? We all know that humans they came from animals, 5 senses animals. Now the 5 senses animals came from 4 to 3, 3 to 2, like that. Now, the animals, they attack other animal. They prey on other animal for their survival. When they try to attack other animals, that's the starting point for aggression and anger. From there on, millions of years, the same imprints have been transcended from animals to the human race. Now, it's very critical for us to make sure that we don't give any place to any emotional mood. Emotional mood comes into picture only when there is no awareness and wisdom. During early times, early ages, until the development of a complete wisdom, the man was not able to assess his character, his duties, and his values. But by now, as we are in the scientific age, we are trying to improve or develop our wisdom. We are following a route of a spiritual path in order to realize the secret of the nature, understand oneself. Now, in order to understand or realize oneself, there should always be a constant awareness and a complete development of wisdom. So when there is a constant awareness, there will be no emotional mood like anger. When there is no emotional mood, that is the key for your own consciousness, which is nothing but the sixth sense. So the lock and the key is within ourselves. So our Guruji usually says this phrase. It's a very interesting phrase. Man is a phenomena struggling between the habit and wisdom. Why did he say that? Because man has no reason to get anger because he is equipped with the sixth sense. Now he knows that when you get anger, it's going to impact your health, but still he continues to do it. He cannot completely get rid of it. Why? That's because of his imprints, because of his habit. So he's always in the middle stage, struggling between the wisdom and the habit. And when you try to develop your wisdom more and more by traveling through a spiritual journey, you can get rid of all these old imprints and the old habits that has been carried forwarded for millions of years from our ancestors and from the other species. Now, what is the solution for this? We have seen what is anger, what is the ill effects, but how do we get rid of it? Now, our master, our Guruji, after extensive research in his own life, he came across a simple technique which everyone can follow. And this technique is applicable for all kinds of people across all the regions of the world. It's a globalized solution. Now, what are the critical steps for that? The high-level steps. First thing, your mind has to be calm. Now, when your mind will be calm? when you meditate. So begin with a meditation. Make sure that your mind frequency is low to an alpha wave, let's say. Now, second, we are going to just take a look at the chart on what we need to do, how we can manage this anger. Now, the third thing is the auto suggestions and the blessings. We will see how this is going to work now. Now, for this practice session, what we can best do is we can try to take a pen and paper. Let's try to note down the list of all the people with whom we are most angry with, who trigger us the most. Let's put them in a decreasing order. Like, for example, let's say like the first person will be the most person with whom I am angry with for some reasons. So our Guruji, since he traveled to many places, many countries, and he tried to explain this technique and help to implement this practice, he has noted that in 80% of the scenarios, the first name would be the life partner. Why? That's because we are traveling with them. We are spending most of our life on a day-to-day basis with them. And as a result, there shall be a conflict of interest in most of the decisions or most of the concepts, whatever that we discuss. Now let's try to put down the list of all these people in the descending order. Now let's take the first person. For argument's sake, let's say like it's a life partner, right? Now we are going to put like what is the relationship with that person. And then you're going to document what is the reason behind that anger. So when doing these kind of exercises, we have to be very much transparent to ourselves, because we are not going to show this to anyone. We are going to document and keep it for our own. So we can feel free and secure, and we can document whatever that we feel. So once you document it here, for example, the reason. Once you document it here, now let's go to the next one. What is your contribution in that particular situation? Is there anything else that you could have helped to improve that situation or to avoid that situation? Maybe 10% there can be a faulty side on yourself, right? So what is that? We may have to document that as well. Now, in most of the cases, in most of the situations, the conflict happens around 4 areas. Every concept has 4 dimensions: judgment of the need, quality, quantity, and time. What is judgment of the need? Probably when you and your life partner are discussing on certain things, you may be under impression that you don't need certain thing. And your other one, your better half, can say that, no, we need that for such a reason. So judgment of the need. So there is a conflict arising on the necessity of that. Second thing is quantity. Now, how much you need. Third thing is quality. How you would like to achieve that or implement that. You would prefer a method. The other person might prefer the other method. Fourth, time. When you would like to achieve that. You would like to achieve it immediately. The other person might say, no, we can wait for a couple of months. So always there will be a conflict around these 4 areas: the judgment of the need, quality, quantity, and time. And it's not completely possible for us to eradicate the gaps in these items. So what best can we do? In that case, we should learn to be more patient, tolerant, and forgive. Now, we should always try to accept a fact that the other human being has also the freedom of life. They also have the desire to be fulfilled. So, we have to just give it to them. Let them do it on their own. And let us be a witness to that. Just observe that. Probably when situation goes out of control, when there is a loss, then we can go and help it. Until and unless, we should always realize that they're here for their own karma. So we should not deprive their freedom or their desires. The next thing, try to think about that person. What are all the good things that they have done to us? Let's forget about that anger for now, the situation. You have to think about what the other person has done for you in your entire lifetime. How much love they have shared, how much help they have done for you, how much of dedication of the service they had done for you. Now, when you keep on pondering your thoughts on that, all the positive sides, you will definitely reach at a point where you will not only appreciate that person, but you will begin to appreciate even their parents and the creature of this creation of this universe, the nature. So once you do this practice, once you analyze this, now you'll have to do an auto-suggestion. Now, what is auto-suggestion? Auto-suggestion, you can do it like saying, hereafter, I'm not going to get angry on you. I'll be tolerant with you. And at the same time, you shall also be tolerant with me. We are going to coexist. Put that thought, put that auto-suggestion multiple times in a day. When your mind is calm. Let's do this practice continuously for the same person every day for at least a week. The more and more auto-suggestion and blessings you do for him, it picks up more strength. And the next time when such a similar situation arises, whatever the auto-suggestion that we did when our mind state was calm, it has created a very strong imprint that will take a driver's seat instead of anger. That will save you the situation. On the contrary, let's say like, still you're getting anger on them for some reason. You're doing it, but still you're getting anger on them. Now, what does it mean? It means like your auto-suggestion has not picked up enough strength. You need to go back again. You need to repeat this exercise. And that's the one primary reason why we do auto-suggestion immediately after the meditation. And if we do this exercise immediately after the meditation, we can harvest a huge benefit out of it. So it's very important for us that we neutralize this anger with our closed ones. And when we do implement all these kind of actions into our life, definitely that will open the key to consciousness. Now, after 1 week, let's go to the second person in our list. For that second person, you don't exactly need a 1 week of time, because already you got used to this practice and you have successfully neutralized the anger. So you might need just 1 or 2 days. You just need to again document all these things for the second person and try to do auto suggestion for a couple of days. You will be able to manage it more effectively. Now, when you cover the top 3 persons or 4 persons in this list, now majority of anger will get neutralized. You will have a more peaceful life. So these exercises are very important as compared with our meditation technique and other physical form of exercises that we do. Now, we all know that we do the Kaya Kalpa Yoga, the physical exercises, or the meditation for the well-being to enhance our energy level, biomagnetism, life force energy. Now, when you keep on doing that, you enhance your life force energy, and suddenly if you get anger, and there'll be a drastic reduction in your energy level. So whatever that you have done or whatever you have earned the energy via meditation goes in vain. So it's like pouring a water in a pot with a hole. Whatever you pour, it comes out in the other way. So it's very critical for us to practice the introspection techniques on a daily basis. So most of us will even know that whatever that we have gone through for so long in our session, but until and unless we put that into practice, we are not going to reach to the next level. So I would like to reiterate again what our Guruji said, that man is a phenomena struggling between the habit and the wisdom. So in order to get rid of the habit, we need to move towards the side of the wisdom. And in order to move to the wisdom, we need to implement all these kind of techniques and practices on a day-to-day life. So I hope this information, this session, whatever that we have been discussing now has been helpful for everyone. And with this, I would like to conclude the session. Let's open the floor for question. Be blessed by the divine.
Very nice session. Let us all bless our Sky Master, Arulnadi Gokul Aya. For those who are initiated and have Turiya experience, let us have our mind focus on our Turiya chakra. Blessings. By the grace of divine energy, our Sky Master Arulnadi Gokul Kumaraya and his family may enjoy good health, long life, enough health, wisdom, prosperity, and peace. Be blessed by the divine. As I mentioned, we're open for questions. Those who have missed the session and the prior one, we have online recordings available on YouTube. We are live right now. so you can make up your session. And this session continuously will happen. And we are targeting the Arunidhir course somewhere planned in September. So, which is actually the Sky Master course. So we recommend you to continuously, without any missing, participate in these sessions. Yes, we do have some practicals. Those practicals, we need to make arrangements. We will. And you probably will end up going to your local center to get your practicals done. And it's time for questions. Go ahead, Aya.
Yeah,
Anyone have? Go ahead.
If there are any open questions, let us see. Yeah, or I have some more points to cover. Anyone got any questions?
While they're thinking and coming up with question, go ahead and you can cover your area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Aya said, by September, we are having this Sky Master course. So before that, we have the introspection level 1, level 2, and level 3, consisting of a lot of fundamentals that we learned today. There are many such lessons or topics we need to cover. So it is required that you all are registering with us so we know that our batch is going forward with all the topics covered. Number one. Number two, like practical sessions based on your location, we would reach out to the Sky Masters in the USA and then try to arrange you the coordinates for taking the in-person or practical sessions. So we request you all to register in the website so we will be able to reach out and also pass on the communications on timely basis so you don't miss out anything. And if you feel like any one of your friends wanted to join and missed, we can have a separate session to make them catch up with this. So we are open for that also. So feel free to pass on to them as well. And on a second note, for registration, we are reporting this to our World Community Service Center. So where we are required to be in compliance with our reporting needs. And at the same time, only by reporting, we will be able to continue this online service. So in order for us to continue this service effectively and in a continual manner, we need your support getting this registered. So please log into our website and then have your thing registered. Even if you are a retaker, you've done this course before, it is you are required to register as a retaker. So we will register a report in two aspects. One is retaker and another one is list of new participants. So please help us do this service continuously.
I just have shared the registration link and also the WhatsApp group link. So please join in, and we promise and we try to maintain the decorum of the WhatsApp group, not to have any clutters or the spams or any other forwards. That group is only to keep communication and share any needed resources for the classes. Be blessed.
Yeah, this session will be posted for the participants here.
Which one are you talking? The flyer, the information?
Oh, the class that we conducted the session. So one of the participants has asked, he's in the name of Sky Introspect.
Okay. What is the question?
This session will be available, this video of the session.
Yes. Yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
it is available.
Yeah, somebody registered in the name of Sky Introspect. So we request participants to use their names that they would put it on the registration link. so that we understand, because we cannot be able to identify who all participated. So next time when you join, please enter your name instead of generic names like Sky Introspect. Thank you. To answer your question, yes, the video will be posted.
Mukul Kumar Aya, it's a wonderful, fantastic session, Aya. It was very clear and very nice, Aya.
Thanks, Aya. Be blessed by the divine. Any questions?
Very Haramadan. So I see some people just joined in. Balaji, yeah, go ahead and can you reiterate your instructions and then maybe we'll call the conclusion.
Sure, yeah. So for the benefit of who joined lately, we are reiterating this. So by September 2020, we are planning our Sky Master course. So in order to participate and become a master, so that you gain mastery in what you learn and also get enabled for teaching others, you'll be taking the master's course. So that is by September 2020. So before that, we need to complete introspection level 1, 2, and 3. And this is going to continue. Today is the first session in English. We covered 2 topics for introspection level 1. So we will continue in the upcoming weeks. So you're required to take up all the topics and get familiar with this. So we are ready by September. And we request all to register in our website so that we keep a track of our participants and also enable them with right answers for questions that come up while you're learning this and practicing this. So we request everyone to register either as a retaker or a new participant. So, and a secondary note, we are required to report this to the World Community Service Center. So this online session is enabled. So that it is more important for us to communicate back to them, the participants' information. So be blessed by the divine. So if we have any further questions, we will discuss and get clarified, or else we can plan for concluding our session. This session will be available, this video of the session would be available online as well. So if anyone missed, you're more welcome to take it up and catch up in the next session. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so we have our youth wing involved in this or participating in this session. So not to scare them away, mentioning that, this is like, we're working towards bringing them as masters. It's basically just a level of learning only. So don't think that you will be asked to teach or do anything, but it's up to you. Once you reach that level, we'll let you decide what you want to do. I just want to be very clear that we want you to get trained and learned and brought up to that teacher level. That's all. That is all. So you just participate in this sessions and regularly without any missings. So we that's why we try to have these sessions early in the morning, 7:30, between 7:30 and 9:30. So please, we request all of our youth leaders. I don't want to mention the names here. So I want every single youth leader in our center need to be participating in this, at least in this English session. So we're conducting in Tamil, same subject, Saturday Tamil and Sunday English, same subject, but different masters are conducting the sessions. So please try to make it to either session, either Tamil or English. And if you could possibly join both of them, oh, that is very nice. Thank you, Aya. Aditi Amma here, so she could sing the blessings for the world and conclude it. Yeah, yes, Amma.
That was very, very wonderful. Prabhu Aya's analysis of thoughts and Gokul Kumaraya's neutralization of anger. Thank you, Ayas. So now, for the youth, those who are unmarried, the first column, like relationship with the person, that was an example given as a life partner. So what it could be, that's my question.
Primarily for those who are not married, primarily it would be actually with the parents or the siblings. So, I mean, once, to be honest and be frank, once when Maharishi was also alive, the master level and all these introspection level courses are meant only for those married. That's why all these, the charts and everything is actually talking about the life partners. But the level of intellectuality among the humanity is actually really up. So this is now, we are extending to the youth also. So this is, right now, I have seen at least one young master, and we probably are going to be the successor of bringing up the young masters in our center. So to answer your question, it would be the parents or your siblings on that. Hopefully
Thank you.
clarified. Thank you. Yeah, is there any other announcement? Next week, Saturday, 7:30 Tamil session, Sunday, 7:30 English session. All timings are Chicago timings. So make sure you are converting the time into your own time zone and be able to participate in the sessions promptly. Thank you. We'll sing the song for blessings for the world and conclude our session. Aditi Amma.
வாழ்க வளமுடன். உலக நல வாழ்த்து. உலகமெல்லாம் பருவமழை ஒத்தபடி பெய்யட்டும். உழவரெல்லாம் தானியத்தை உவப்புடனே பெருக்கட்டும். பல தொழில்கள் புரிகின்ற பாட்டாளி உயர்த்தட்டும். பகுத்துணர்வில் தொகுத்துணர்வு பண்பாட்டை உயர்த்தட்டும். உலகமெல்லாம் பருவமழை ஒத்தபடி பெய்யட்டும். கலக்கங்கள் போட்டி பகை கடந்தாட்சி நடக்கட்டும். கல்லாமை கடன் வறுமை கலங்கங்கள் மறையட்டும். நலவாழ்வை அளிக்கும் மெய்ஞான ஒளி வீசட்டும். நலவாழ்வை அளிக்கும் மெய்ஞான ஒளி வீசட்டும். நம் கடமை அறவாழ்வின் நாட்டத்தே சிறக்கட்டும். நம் கடமை அறவாழ்வின் நாட்டத்தே சிறக்கட்டும். வாழ்க வையகம் வாழ்க வளமுடன், வாழ்க வையகம் வாழ்க வளமுடன், வாழ்க வையகம் வாழ்க வளமுடன் வாழ்க வையகம் வாழ்க வளமுடன் வாழ்க வளமுடன்.
That shall be. Aditi Arun, be blessed by the divine, she and her family. By the grace of divine energy, may enjoy good health, long life, enough health, prosperity, wisdom, and peace. Be blessed by the divine. Thank you, all aspirants, for giving up our teachers in our center the wonderful opportunity to serve you all in Vedatrium. Be blessed by the divine. Thank you. Palajaya, Prabhuya.
வாழ்க வளமுடன் ஐயா. We are good ஐயா. I think all communications for the next week's session are all communicated. We are good.